So good evening, everyone. Again, I'm going to share my screen from the share application so that I can access the websites, and I'd like you all to navigate with me to various platforms this evening so that we can make sure that we see the same thing and that all of you are on the same page. Now, once I share my screen, I can't see you or your chats. So I'm going to ask that one of you just indicate by unmuting and letting me know if you are able to see my screen at the moment with the Rosebank College website reflected.
Yes, we can see your screen, right?
Thank you so much. And
Yes,
as I start moving on it, tell me, does my screen change? Are you able to follow with me on your side?
Yes, we are able.
Okay. So I just want to go back to the first screen. When you are on the website itself, you have to click on current students to navigate to where the documentation is that you need to see. Now, from the students who were online last, with our last online call, where did we go or where should you go for your PAS document, for any timetables, for any documentation in terms of when you submit? Where do you click now? So I'm going to need you to talk to me. Where do I go?
Assessment timetables.
Okay, thank you so much. I click on assessment timetables. There's only 2024 term 1. You are distance online. Then you get the various faculties that have online programs. Which faculty is yours?
Faculty of Commerce.
Okay, Faculty of Commerce. What is your code?
5111.
Now we're looking for your program code. So you have to give me your program.
HCDM. Yes,
Yeah.
that one.
This one here, HCDM 0501W.
Correct.
Okay, now as you can see, this is version 2. So you have to keep your eye on the document. It can change anytime before the deadline that is finally set for you. So if I click on this document, it's going to open up. Many of you will download this document, which is great. But remember in the back of your mind that this is a document you constantly have to check and view so that you stay in line with the actual deadlines or the actual dates. Now on this document, you will see that there's a release date of version 2, which was given on the 18th of March. And you can see the code for the various modules that you are covering this semester. It also gives you when the scheduled supplementary dates are. So if you're not successful in the first attempt, there's going to be supplementary exams should you qualify for it. But for us, Project 1 and Project 2, there are given dates for it. I'm going to ask you from your side, what is the dates for the respective projects? What is the due date for Project 1?
April.
Okay, so 19th of April is what we are preparing for currently. You'll then see Project 2 is 17th of May, and then your final summative project will be due on the 7th of June. All these are submitted before midnight when the cutoff time for Learn will reflect late. So anybody who submits at 1 in the morning or after 12 or after midnight, it will reflect as late, and then I'm not allowed to mark any projects that are late unless you have had a viable reason and you've uploaded it on the hub and they've given you approval to write or for me to mark it. So please take note of these dates. Please navigate your way to these platforms, to these documents, and keep up with the scheduled dates and as they update. Remember, formative dates can change based on the institution's discretion, so you need to keep up so that you don't share wrong information in your groups, but also so that you can breathe and plan accordingly. So the 19th of April is what we currently see. By next week, check it again. At the end of the week, check it again and constantly ensure that you are on the right track. So I'm going to stop or close this and hope that you have downloaded that document on your side and you will keep track of the dates accordingly so that you can make sense of where we are. Some of you will email me and say, when are we writing? When is it due? When am I submitting? It's because navigating these platforms, you either were not present, you maybe registered late, or because you're relying on your neighbor to send the information on a WhatsApp group or on a group where you are communicating, please refrain from that and rather communicate on an open platform, access it where the institution is giving it to you, and keep up directly from the source and not from too many voices so that you don't confuse yourself. So on the chat, I just want to check in. Are we all clear on the dates, on the pairs, and will you be able to navigate yourself to find this pairs document yourself? Just a thumbs up, a yes or no. Okay. Okay, so generally you have a sense now of where this document is, and if you forget, you can always access the recording again, or perhaps there was some welcome guide or a pack, orientation pack that you've received. Please use those documents, read through them, and use and access the correct documents when you need to. So the dates, we all know where they are. You don't have to email to request or find clarity or submit on the incorrect date. Follow the pairs document. Then the second thing that I wanted to discuss today was the breakdown of the actual project again. Now, thank you to all the students who made an attempt, even if you were unsure or you were confused or you were not clear. The fact that you attempted it and tried to check or to follow a request or to follow the instructions that were given to you, I appreciate that and I'll support you accordingly. Tonight, we're going to break it down one more time, and I'm going to use the actual POE document to screen or to share on the screen and discuss through with you what exactly it is that you need to do. Please make as many notes as you can so that you are not asking the same questions over and over. Also download the recording so that you can listen to it again until it is clear. And then check in and send an email once you have worked through the recordings and you've made an attempt to do the activities before you ask, so that I can guide based on what you have completed correctly or at least attempted to do. So I'm going to share the actual the actual POE Word document that was shared with us, and you can follow on your side and make as many notes. And for those of you who've now done a compulsory or the ICE task, you would have an idea as to where you went wrong or where you were stuck. Please ask those questions in the discussion now so that you can clarify and work towards completing this project. Then while I share my screen, I just wanted to check base as well. There was a student that shared a screenshot of a communication that was given to you regarding a crop screenshot shortly just now before we logged in. Please take note that when it says at the bottom, when I put an announcement, I'll say D. Robertson or Diana Robertson. I'll put my details at the bottom of the screenshots or the emails or the communication that you receive. If it's not my name, then it means it was shared by a specific department. You can see the screenshot that this came from is the information center. So it's not sent from me. However, the crop test is a basic tool that anybody can use, and the institution is probably using it even though it is embedded in the DIAL module as well. So it's just a tool that you need to use to be able to examine certain documents or the accuracy of certain articles that you're going to download. So it's a tool that anyone in any course or module can use. But just a reminder or for clarity, I only give you announcements that have my name at the bottom. If it is anything else or anyone else, their details will follow at the bottom. So there's broad communication that is sent. Look at who it's coming from, and then you can ask the related questions regarding that. I hope that answers the question for the post earlier on. And we will also discuss the crop test when we get to that section of the POE where it's needed. But it's just a general tool that we use to describe the currency, the relevance, the authority, the accuracy, and the purpose of why certain articles are put together and how we can fact check them and make sure that they are correct, make sure that we're using resources that are credited and that are credible sources for us to use. So that's basically what that tool is for. Okay, so I can't see your interactions at the moment on the chat. You're going to have to make the notes, and I'll stop in between and go back to see any communication on the chat group. And I will also allow for you to unmute in between where you need the needed clarity. For those of you who were in our last call, some of it might be repetitive, but I think it's good that we repeat for clarity for the project itself so that you can find the needed confidence and the support that you need to fully complete this task and gain the best marks that you possibly can. So we start with project 1. The project topic is evaluating the benefits, risks, and challenges of generative AI in higher education. Now, the topic on which all the DIAL projects focus this year is for you to critically evaluate the following statement. Then they're given a statement with a bullet that says, the benefits of using generative AI in higher education learning materials and assessments outweigh any ethical risks and challenges associated with it, especially in South Africa. Now you need to decide what position you will adopt on that particular topic. So I repeat, the topic is the benefits of using generative AI in higher education learning materials and assessments outweigh ethical risks.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not able to see the content on the screen.
Yeah,
Are you able to see? Okay, let me
It's
try and
dark.
reshare again.
it's
Okay,
black.
no problem. You can't see anything at all.
Unfortunately
Okay,
not.
let me reshare.
Unfortunately not, ma'am. It's dark.
Okay, let me reshare. Window. Okay, I just want to go out. I'll reshare again. Let's try. Just give me a second. Sorry about that. Okay, it seems like the document is protected. They don't want the shared option. I'm going to try and PDF the document and reshare. Are you all able to access the document from your sides on your desktops? Or you all have access to the document?
Which document?
The POE document, the document that explains the projects.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to try and share one more time. If I can't access it, you'll have to navigate by accessing it on your side. Alternatively, I will try and get screenshots up and see if I can navigate it that way. Let me try and share it as a PDF. Give me 1 second. Someone's hand was up. Did you want to say something? Okay, it seems as if the file is PDF format. I am not able to share it on the screen as I initially planned to. I'm going to try and do it a different way, and I think I'll take a step back and start with the referencing feedback I want to give for the ICE Task 2 first, and then take it step by step by reading the activity and we discuss it. I'm going to need your interaction this evening, and I'm going to ask, firstly, before I attempt it, to try and see if you are able to access or see my next screen that I was planning to discuss. Let's try that option first. The next option or document that I wanted to share in discussion this evening was the reference guide. I remember sharing or saying that I will show you how to navigate or look at the reference guide to be able to fully or correctly reference an image once you've taken a screenshot. And also the in-text referencing, for some of you, it is still done incorrectly. So I just wanted to touch base on that as well. I see a hand or communication. You may speak.
Okay, ma'am. Good evening. Okay, with regards to the reference guide, there's the one that you posted on RCLAN, and then there's the one that I received via email. The versions are not the same, so I'm not sure which one is the latest one that I'm supposed to use because they are not the same.
Can I ask, do both of them say 2024, or what's the difference in the two documents?
Yeah, I think they both say 2024. Yeah, but then when what made me realize that they're not the same is when I went to check for the chat GTP referencing, and then on the other one, it was not there, like it was not on the same, like the same page, the number pages.
Okay, may I ask you to forward me the version you have so I can compare the two?
The one I received via email.
Yes.
Okay,
So I can just open it on my side. Thank you so much. Will you be able to send it now?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, I'll wait for that one and then I'll share. And then I'll also share the one that I'm looking at the moment, and we can compare what could be different. But generally, the IIE has the same Harvard referencing method that they will use. They can't deviate from it. It's going to be one umbrella document that we all use. Perhaps it was just compiled differently by the different institutions, or perhaps the IIE campus that I sit on might have altered the documents. I will look at the one that you share and follow the version you received. That would have probably been what the Rosebank campuses are following. Okay, so I'll wait for your email as well. The student who was speaking to me, I'll check now. May you please indicate who was I talking to?
It was Balesa, ma'am. Was talking.
Okay, I'll wait for an email from you. I haven't received yet, but I'll discuss the reference guide that I have in the meantime. Okay, so let me go back. Okay, the document is loading. It will share in a bit. But ideally, what I want to go through is ask you to make notes of the key pages that you need to look at when you're completing your DIAL Project 1. And you're going to make sure that you link your referencing with what I'm saying this evening. And you ask me for clarity when needed. So the document that I'm using, it should not be very far or opposite from the document that you were emailed. I will reach out tomorrow to a few of the other lecturers and align my document with theirs. But as you can see, this is a IIE document. A Harvard referencing style is what they generally use. And I think what's important for me was just to emphasize to you, the table of contents will indicate exactly what sources you need to look at. And right at the end, it indicates or speaks about the generative AI tools and how to reference that tool and how to consider it. You'll see it right at the bottom on page 39. So we're going to navigate our way through this document and get to page 39. So I'm going to ask you to follow with me, and then I'll check my email to check the version you have received, and we will decide this evening which version you will look at for the completion of project 1 and what is the best way to go about it. And I also would like you to ask me as many questions or communicate and tell me where you are stuck or unclear. Now, step 1 of the task asks that you take a screenshot. It first explained that you needed to navigate your way to find, to download ChatGTP and be able to find your logins and access it. There was about 4 students that emailed me and said they can't find it. They don't know what ChatGTP is. They don't know where to look for it, even though the instructions are saying how you need to navigate to find it. I don't know how else to share a link, but I'll try again this evening on an announcement to share a link for ChatGTP on Google. If the link does not work, you have to please type in ChatGTP and search for it on Google, not Google Scholar, but just on Google. I'm sure that you will navigate and find it as your peers have navigated and found it. Once you've done that, you're going to take screenshots as per question 1 asks you to do. Now, when you put a screenshot in your work, you'll see that this guide will tell you what a screenshot, depending on what the version of your screenshot is, how you reference a particular picture or screenshot or image that you are inserting. But I'm going to work my way through to get to screenshots as I discuss the document itself. Now, you've had reference training, and I'm sure that in that reference training, they also touched on when you're going to do searches and you're going to use authors, articles, and books, there's certain ways that you will write about that author in a paragraph, and there's also another way that you will use to add that author in your reference list. So the guide is simplistic. I'm not going to read everything to you. I'm just indicating that you had to search for certain information on ChatGTP, and then you had to start a discussion. In the discussion, whether you are right or wrong, or whether you've emphasized key points, your discussions can't just be your voice. It has to be backed up by authors and sources, whether it's an AI source, whether it's a book, whether it's an article. When you start doing the discussions where it says unpack or discuss something, you have to go back again to the reference guide and in text reference correctly and put it in a reference list. Whatever you mention throughout your writing, please add it in the reference list. Now, some of you have done it correctly. ChatGTP is a tool that is designed by OpenAI. So whenever you're referring to ChatGTP, you say OpenAI. And the year that OpenAI was launched, or OpenAI, the references that you get, or 2024 is correct in this case because I've taken it as correct because at least you attempted to say OpenAI, 2024 in text, and you went all the way down and you put OpenAI on your reference list. If you've done that, it's correct. You can't say ChatGTP. The tool is called ChatGTP, but the actual source where you got the information from is OpenAI. Palisa, I see your hand.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to confirm. I was confused because I had to reference the screenshots, right? So I took that the screenshot is an image. So I used an image reference. So I need
you are correct.
I need clarity on that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm going to get to the screenshot part. I'm just speaking about when we're using ChatGTP, we use OpenAI as the source, not ChatGTP. So let me go to where the images are. I'll show you, I highlighted it somewhere. So when you get to the image part of it, you'll see it starts on page 18. This one shows you if it's a figure from an art piece, then it gives you how you will direct quote that art piece. Then you'll see it says online images of figures. So this is where, Palisa, you can also correct me. Is this what you used?
Correct, ma'am. That's the one I used.
Okay. So for all of you on page 20 of the document, this is what you were supposed to use. So at the bottom of your picture, you can see exactly how it's depicted on the screen or in the reference guide. It's the picture, and below the picture, you put the actual source of where you got your picture from. Now you got the picture from ChatGTP, but the source that ChatGTP or the author who designed ChatGTP will be OpenAI, not ChatGTP. Then OpenAI, and you put the year of ChatGTP or the OpenAI source, and I'll take you down to clarify on the following page what year you should put for your images. But if you have more than one image in your writing, your first image for question 1.1 should say figure 1. It has those two dots, OpenAI, 2024, closed comma. So this is more or less what you should have done. Now in your project, it asks you to screenshot twice, which means you're going to have figure 1 in the one answer and figure 2 in the next answer. So I'm going to pause here for a second and ask you, does this make sense in what I'm saying you need to do in terms of referencing your images or figures?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It makes sense, but can I just explain to you a little bit on why I used a different reference style?
You can.
So I used the unpublished photo because it's a screenshot. It's not necessarily a photo that's out there. So that was my reasoning for saying it's an unpublished photo, and I used referencing for an unpublished photo.
Okay, can you guide us? Where did you navigate your way to that on the reference guide?
I think it's on here after.
Okay, let me move on. This is
Not this
Pinterest
one.
images, so it's not this one. Okay, I'm going to go down. Tables and diagrams, it's not that one.
Not this one also.
Okay, not this one. Interviews, conference proceedings, not that. I'll go all the way down so I can try and get a source, unless you've used the different reference document that was sent by your peer or that you received via email. But I'll go down just to see if I can
I
find
think
it.
it's this one. Sorry, you can go back up.
Own
Yes, own
photographs?
photographs.
Okay, so you took own photograph. It depicts an ambience of the blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let me explain. When it's own photograph, in this sense, it is a photo that is taken, let's say I take a picture of myself, a selfie, or I take a picture of how my students are working in the class. I take a picture of how I am teaching the DIAL module right now. Those pictures are figures that is my own images that depict an ambience of or a presence or an experience that I currently am engaging in. But the actual picture that you are getting, even though it's not a published source, it is a screenshot from a particular place where someone else can go and fact check or prove that that is where you found the source from. So I'm not sure if you understand. You can tell me if I'm making sense, and then I'll try and clarify again. So if I'm taking my own pictures of a certain setting, that is own photographs. But if I'm taking a screenshot of something that is not created by me, I must acknowledge that source that I found the image from.
Okay,
Do you
thank you. It
understand?
makes sense, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to go right down to the last document or the last page that gives us clarity. And this is an important page for this particular project that all of you should please take note. You'll see I try to highlight it at the bottom here on page 39. Here it says ChatGTP and generative AI intelligence. Then it says the main negative impacts of private renting according to OpenAI's response. It gives you a clarity there. And then it says 2023, because that's when the AI tools were launched initially, or discussions. When you go on to page 40, it then gives you OpenAI 2024 reference on the right-hand side that I have highlighted. So when you are doing a reference in text, when your screenshot, you're going to say, Figure 1, OpenAI 2024 in brackets, because that's where you got the image from. Then on your reference list, right at the bottom, you copy and paste exactly what you see there. The only difference is you can add accessed on this particular date. So I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to try and put it in the chat so that we all follow. So if it's in text, let's say for the figures now, we're speaking particularly to the figures. I'm going to say figure 1, OpenAI 2024 for in text in my pictures for the image. Then if I'm going to put it as a full reference, I'm going to have OpenAI I just want to type it, it's not working. Include the link. And I'm going to use today's date just to give an example. Accessed on the 8th April 2024. So generally when I am going to reference, this is the way I'm going to navigate this document. If I reference below my picture, figure 1, OpenAI 2024, or figure 2, OpenAI 2024, or figure 3, OpenAI. And then I make sure that I put the full reference at the bottom on my reference list. I see one hand, you may speak.
Thank you, ma'am. So I have a question. When I referenced my images, I missed the image one altogether. I searched for ChatGPT, and underneath all my images, I did not add figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, but I did add OpenAI.
You did, yeah.
24.
Yes,
And
you had the correct following, but just the descriptor at the front you didn't have. For that, I won't penalize because I didn't tell you that prior to us discussing. So for the ICE task, I won't penalize you. But for the project itself, these projects will be moderated, and I'd like the moderator not to say, but why didn't they, or why is this omitted from there? So now that you know, for the project, please include it.
Okay, and then the second one, second question. Thank you, ma'am, for the first question. The second question, the link that we add there, since the example that's given on the reference guide, it just gives that link. Do we give the link of the prompt answer that we got from ChatGPT, or do we just give the normal ChatGPT link?
Okay, so for the screenshots, use just this normal standard link. But for when discussions are going to happen, you'll see I'll discuss where you need to unpack a bit of the content, where ChatGPT is giving you a direct answer. Then you try and find the exact link to take you to the source of that response. I hope I'm making sense. So for the images, a standard link that will take you to ChatGPT, because I can take your screenshot, type in the words you typed in, it should give me more or less the same response. But if I want specific to follow the trail of the discussion, then the link will slightly change as you unpack or discuss a bit more. But for the most part, because this is the first year that you are using the tool, I wouldn't penalize you if the link does not necessarily change too much, because I don't want to stress you. Yes.
So if I use the same link on my reference list and on my reference underneath the images, you wouldn't penalize me, but that's not the proper way to do it.
Yes. So for the images, generally use the same link that I have on the chat now. You're just going to take it as it is from the source, from the reference guide. But in discussions, when you start unpacking, the correct way is to follow the thread as it changes. You need to keep up with and give the correct reference as your discussion deepens, because we take those links to fact check where you found that particular information.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So for the most part, the images, some of you really made an attempt and effort to figure out how to navigate, and you used the guide to show you more or less what to do. And I appreciated that effort to try and figure it out and to try and align with what was the right thing to do. So now we've clarified for question 1.1, when you do screenshots throughout your work, what you need to do. So I'm going to just check in and ask, in terms of the screenshots, are we all now on the same page? You can just indicate on the chat and give me some clarity there. Okay, so then I'm going to move on. The rest of the, so question 1 was a screenshot question. Question 2 then said, okay, in your own words, unpack. And so that's fine. The minute we say in your own words, you can then articulate and show your critical thinking and write in your own voice what you think or interpret. But the minute we say in your own voice, you need to move away from ChatGPT, away from the AI tool, and write from your own view. You can't change synonyms here and there in the sentence to try and make it your own, because if you do, then you are being unethical, and it takes us back to the words we discussed around poor referencing, plagiarism, copying, contract cheating, and all those discussions. So once it says in your own words, move away from the tools and use your own understanding or discretion and paraphrase to the best of your ability. So question 1.2.1, 1.2.2, 1.2.3. You can use, in your own words, discuss the 3 aspects. My only advice for you would be, the minute they say discuss the main arguments that support the project, you can go back if you want to show a critical voice, bring in a reference that backs up what you are saying in your own words. So if I'm saying that I'm for AI, I justify in my own words why, and then I say because Samantha 2024 also said this. So to back up my view, I bring in a source to substantiate my views. So that is the best way to go about an argument. It is to show your voice, to clarify what you are saying. This is the information the AI gave. This is my view. And an article that I found also says 1, 2, 3. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope that you can navigate it that way. I'm going to take a few questions and then we can clarify what would be the best way for you to respond for those particular questions. I see your hand. You may speak.
Thank you, ma'am. So when it says in your own words, right?
Yes.
Discuss the arguments that support the project topic.
Yes.
Is it necessary for me to always reference my own words or my opinion or my understanding, or I can go without referencing?
Okay. So thank you for that question. I think they've broken it down because at the end, the bigger picture will be you have your voice and you back it up with a reference. But for question 1 itself, it says in your own voice. So you will not be penalized if you don't have a reference that back you up. Because you'll see the next question, I think it's question 2. Question 2 then says search for and reference resources. So now we're going to ask you to reference. So question 2 itself, you cannot go without referencing. So they've broken it down into parts. The first one, you're more than welcome. Say what you found on AI, give your opinion, give your voice. But the next question that follows, now we are explicitly saying reference in question 2. So then the next step will follow and require you to reference. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, cool. So question 1, in your own voice, but just a golden nugget from me, get into the habit to back yourself up with a reference. But it's not mandatory in question 1, so let's not complicate things. For question 1, your voice, your opinion. You can, there's no right or wrong there, so I'm hoping that you will get good marks there. Question 2 then says, search for and reference your resources. So now you go back again to the reference guide and you will make sure that you've got resources that guide you every step of the way. So where it says a resource that supports your position, we'll go back to this reference guide. Let's say you find a resource that supports your position, that is an article. Let's say a journal article. You're going to go back on this reference guide. You're going to search for the type of source that you found this particular information on. So I'm going to search and see which one can I use just to make my point. Let's say a blog article. If you found a blog article, and this one is by Levenstein 2014, this guide shows you exactly, if it's a blog article in text, you have to say Levenstein 2014 argues, or according to Levenstein, and insert it the way the example gives you. If you're taking a direct quote, it gives you an example on how you need to do it, and it shows you how you need to reference the format for the full blog article. If you are going to take an example from, or your support comes from a journal article, which would be my best advice for you, if you lean towards journal articles throughout this project, you're going to do well, because journal articles are credited sources that you can justify your answer through. If you do that, they've given you an in-text example, they've given you a direct quote example, and it shows you how the full reference for it should look like. So my advice would be, in question 2, follow the guide. If it is a journal article, scroll through the guide, find out the example, and follow the exact same steps. If you do this, you tick the boxes for referencing in 2 ways. Number 1, you mentioned in text the source, and number 2, you make sure the full reference is in your reference list. My last step would be, put that reference list in alphabetical order. If you do that, you are going to have a good question 2 that I can't fault you on, because it is going to be aligned with the reference guide that is given to you. So I'm going to pause for a second. The steps of, you need to find a resource that supports your position. You need to find another source that disagrees with your position. Then one that provides statistics, one that provides an example of a case study, for example, and a resource that provides an interesting alternative perspective. There's 5 sources listed there. You need to search for 5 different sources to back up each response there. And if you back it up, it means that you're going to use your reference guide to navigate and help you reference correctly for every response that you give for question 2. So I hope that question 2 is slightly more clearer now. Give me an indication on the chat. Do you now more or less know how you're going to go back and do for the project your question 2 and align accordingly? Yes, see a hand, you must speak.
So let's say the first bullet here is a resource that supports your organization, right? So now, and then say my.
Sorry, Sia, sorry to interrupt you. I cannot hear you. There's a bit of a sound at the back of your, just as like static on your mic. I'm not sure if you are able to try again, or maybe type the question, please. I cannot hear you.
Is it better now?
Yes, slightly better. Yes, sir. You may go.
So, ma'am, I just wanted to find out, ma'am. So the first bullet here is that says a resource that supports your position, right? So now
Yes.
I put in the resource that supports my position, yeah? And
Yes.
then when I found out all the 5 bullets, you know, the 5 references, you know, put it in alphabetical order. That my
Yes.
support, you know, goes down. So probably
Yes.
starts with the W, you know. So that doesn't matter. It's fine if it's like that, as long as it's in alphabetical order. That's what I just want.
Okay, just repeat again. So if you have your sources for these 5 bullets, you put them in alphabetical order, then what is your question?
I first find out that my support, you know,
Yes.
my resource for supporting my position, you know, starts
Yes.
with a W.
Oh, no,
So
that
when
won't matter at all. Won't matter at all. So as long as you've got your references listed alphabetically in the last reference list where all your sources are together, I will find it. So it doesn't matter if it's last or first bullet, the order doesn't matter. As long as it's alphabetically listed, I will find it. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, no problem at all. So it's a good question to ask. Should you put them in the order of how you write? No, you're going to put them in alphabetical order. As long as you've in-text referenced them, I will find them. And then the last part, just for the sake of time, is now question 3. Question 3 is quite simple. You have a table that is given to you, and it's that CRAB test that one of the students posted on the group. And this is a source that will help you analyze a document or scrutinize it for you to see the academic credibility of it. So it helps you to look at that particular article and you're going to recreate this table. So all the word, it wants to test your ability to recreate or type this table again. And are you able to create a table? Can you insert it in a Word document? So it's going to test your formatting skills a bit, create a table and retype this table in the document itself for question 3. And then you answer and complete the table itself. I just want to go back to see what it says exactly what you need to do. So you have to recreate the table and then they try to trick you. They say, turn it landscape. So you have to make the table in a format that is landscape and you need to ask yourself, is that the correct one? Which one is portrait? Which one is landscape? And is yours in the correct format? So don't get thrown off by that. Just do your research. Understand what way does a document face if it's landscape and keep your table in that format. Then you need to have a response that answers the table itself, no more than 1,000 words. Make sure to reference in text in the table as well and answer the necessary questions. Now, currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose, and the overall credibility is described in the slides that I've uploaded for you. It's also, you'll see in the slides that I've uploaded, I've defined each one of those CRAB acronyms for you. All that you need to do is look at the acronyms and complete the table accordingly. So you're going to take your source, every source that you have, put it into this list and create your reference. You're going to take the references that you had and use this table to clarify the academic credibility of your references that you've used. Remember, it said 5 references, so all 5 of them you have to use this table and unpack them each in this table. So let me go back to the screen where I can see you. Let me know if I'm making sense. So the project itself says use 5 sources. So you've got 5 sources that you need to put through that CRAB table and answer. How do you identify if it's accurate? How do you identify if it's credible? And you need to tick the boxes if that particular source that you have inserted is credible. How do you know that? Then answer in your response. So that's basically the guide. The table tells you exactly what to do. If you download my slides, it gives you a description of each of those steps. For example, when you look at purpose, why was this information published? Is the purpose of the publication educational, political, commercial? Does the author present multiple sections with a neutral tone, or does he have a particular viewpoint? Is it published by an organization or non-profit organization? Who published it? So it wants you to scrutinize and unpack every aspect of that particular article that you've searched or referenced. So let me pause there for a second and ask you, based on question 3, does it make sense on what you need to do for question 3? Have you seen the slides that give access and clarifies the CRAB acronyms? Are you with me? Yes or no? Are you still a bit stuck on this part? So that I can clarify before we conclude this session. Okay, let me share my slides for this that is uploaded so that you can understand. Okay, so for clarity for all of us on the call, when you get to question 3, every reference that you've listed on your reference list at the bottom, you need to use the CRAB test to check the credibility for that source. So the acronym has 6 aspects to it. You're going to have for every article, unpack those 6 steps in the table for each reference. So if the table starts with credibility and you have Barker 2009 as a source, you're going to insert Barker 2009 and start unpacking the source itself. It wants you to look through that article and give justification for every single step that you've taken in unpacking that particular source. So let me see if I share my slides. Will this help? Just give me a second. So let's say the slide that I just had earlier on, it had Barker 2009. So now you're going to take Barker 2009 and you start with the first C acronym. The C stands for currency. Here they want the timeliness of the information. So when was the information published? So then you go to the article, you check when was it published, you answer the question. This article by Barker was published in 2009. Then they ask, was it revised or updated? You go back to the article, you read through the cover, through the information you find, and you say, this was revised in 2011, for example. Then it says, does your topic require current information or will older sources work as well? You then say current information because generative AI is a current tool that was launched just the other day in 2022. I think, yes, in 2022. And so we want current information on this topic to justify if the information of ChatGPT is accurate. And then you can say all the sources might work on the topic, but not to justify what AI is saying or whatever your opinion is. So basically, for Barker 2009, if that's my source, I have to break it down for each one. The R stands for relevance. Does the information relate to your topic or answer the question, the information from that particular source of Barker? Yes, it does. Why? Who is the intended audience? Then you can say it's academics or it's a community, it's students, it's lecturers. You can decide based on reading the article who is the audience and then justify why that is a relevant journal to use for your topic. The A stands for authority. Who's the author again? Who's the publisher? Who's the source or the sponsor? What are the author's credentials? Is the author qualified to write a topic? You'll find that information embedded in the cover page of the journal. So earlier on, I said to you, the best tools to use for this particular project is journal articles because they give you inside info on the author, they give you back information or background information that you would need. So basically, for you to navigate through question 3, you need information about the author, about the background, about whether it's published, there should be a timeline, and you'll use all that information to answer these questions in that block for that particular article that you're looking at. So you will have this screenshot on the slide now 5 times, once for every source that you've used. And just the closing tip, you can also create this for your AI, OpenAI tool, because it will be part of your reference list as well. So I'm going to go back to the chat and ask you now, does it make a bit more sense or not? I see one hand and then we'll conclude. Yes, sir?
Sorry, ma'am. So the first question that I had, you answered it. So we're supposed to create 5 tables because there are 5 references that we're gonna have, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And how do we put the heading to the thingy, to the crop thingy for the reference? Where do we put the title of that crop? Or how will you know which one?
Yeah, so you're going to just label each table. So at the top of it, before you insert the table, you put the full reference or the name, Barker 2009. You can decide how you're going to customize it, as long as I can see which table relates to which topic, or which author are you referring to, or which source are you speaking to. So I would say at the top of each table, have the author's full reference, and then you break it down. And remember, in the article, in the table itself, where it says, when was this information published? Who is the author or the source? I will be able to see which reference are you speaking to. But for clarity's sake, put the heading at the top of each table.
All right.
Okay, cool. So does it make sense now? Yes?
Yes, it does. The questions that are on the slide, the slide that you're sharing,
Yes.
do we add those questions on our table, or we just answer without having the questions on the table itself?
Okay, so if you put the questions in your work, it's going to pick up as a similarity score. I don't know if they've explained to you, to your class, how the safer sign and the Turnitin or the similarity scores work. So if you repeat this question, it's going to push up your similarity score too much. So I would say just answer the questions. Don't recopy this table into your work. It's going to push up that similarity score too much, and I don't want you to stress when you see it's 80% or whatever, because the minute you take this as a template, it's going to pick up, because you all will use the same template. But if you just answer the questions, you're going to answer in a unique and authentic way, because your sources will not be the same. Okay.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate it. There was one more. Yes.
I
Yes,
just want to find out, since we've got 5 bulletins in the previous question, and here the table content has the crab itself. So for each of the, like for example, the previous questions they were asked, the sources, are we going to be putting for all 5, for each, the currency, the relevance, for each source that you get, are we going to be putting it on the table?
Yes, ma'am. That's how I understood what you need to do. If you go back, you'll see it's for 50 marks, right? Did you see it's for 50 marks? So if it's for 50 marks, it means it's 10 marks per reference, 10 marks per source. So let's say you had Barker, you had Robertson, Kumalo, Dube, and Williams. You need to have 5 tables so that you can get 50 marks, 10 for each one. Does that make more sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. So basically you have to break it down for each source. So they want you to start thinking about the credibility for every source you've incorporated. And I was going to give you a bonus marks or just support you if you thought about it for the OpenAI, because that will be a source as well. But you don't have to go that route. Focus on the 5 sources that you have, and don't leave it blank. Have 5 sources, 5 tables, so that you gain the full 50 marks. Okay, I hope that gives clarity. Can we go back to the chat one more time for question 3? Please give me a thumbs up or thumbs down or a question mark if you're still unclear, but I think more or less this evening you got some clarity. I'm going to screenshot this table and send it as an announcement now so that you have it, but it's also accessible on the slides itself. So there's 14 of you online. Please may all 14 of you respond for question 3. Are you more or less with me now? Do you have clarity on what you need to do? Okay, I see 1 thumbs up. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, no, maybe? Yes, yeah?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to clarify this. So we used for our last question, we used
Yes.
question. Our question was, what is digital literacy, and why is it important education level right now. And then
that was for the ICE
project,
task, right? Yes, that was for the ICE task. So that's behind us now. So you leave that one out completely. You don't even pay attention to that. We're now focusing on the project title now.
which is the benefits of using generative AI.
Say again?
The benefits of using generative AI in higher education.
You'll see the title right at the top in the first opening. You'll see it on page 3 of the document that you have. It says there, the benefits of using generative AI in higher education. It gives you that long description, that sentence. That is your focus for the project. So that's the topic we're looking at now. The one that speaks about the ethical risks and the challenges, that's the topic you need to look at. Okay. Sia, you can just indicate on the chat for me. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Rejoice, I see your hand, and then we've run out of time. Yes, ma'am, you may speak.
Oh no, I think I wanted to ask on the question, but I see that it's not like necessary to log in and do. I thought maybe you would want a screenshot of the login, like us logging in and creating an account, because I've used chat GPT, but I've never like logged in. I just use I've
Yeah,
never
now you just log in. Yeah, now it's automatic login. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, you don't have to worry. You just start from question 1.1. I think the background information was the people who are using it for the first time to
Yeah.
give them context. But for you, you start from 1.1, screenshots, and you move on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Okay, so I've got a few thumbs there. If your thumb is not added yet, please indicate for me if you are cool, if you've got this, you're going to give it a shot. I appreciate that, MJ. Then for the rest of us, start with the project and email me if you are stuck or need further clarity.